For more than 60 years, there's been one aircraft that's just an undeniable symbol of American air power, the B-52 Stratofortress. I mean, its silhouette is legendary, right? But what really makes this flying giant so incredibly enduring? Okay, let's get into it. We're going to dive into the engineering, the power, and the people that keep this icon in the sky. First, to really wrap your head around its sheer scale, just look at that wingspan. We're talking over 180 feet. That's actually wider than a professional football field is long. Just try to imagine that shadow passing overhead. And it's not just big. It is powerful. The B-52 can haul up to 70,000 pounds of weapons. That is a staggering amount of firepower coming from just one single plane. And its reach? It's truly global. With a range of nearly 9,000 miles, it can literally span continents without refueling. We're talking about projecting power pretty much anywhere on Earth. So here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll explore what makes it an enduring icon, fire up its 8-engine heart, and break down how this giant gets into motion. Then we'll step inside its cockpit, which is like a time capsule. And finally, we'll uncover the secrets to its incredibly resilient legacy. All right, let's start with its iconic status. Because, while we all recognize the shape, the real story here is the incredible engineering that has kept a 1950s design not just flying, but strategically crucial for decades. See, the B-52 isn't some museum piece. It's a living, breathing, evolving platform. It's gotten continuous upgrades to its avionics, its weapon systems, its engines. All of this has allowed it to adapt to modern combat, making it a cornerstone of air power from the Cold War all the way to today. Okay, now for its most recognizable feature, right? Those 8 engines. They are the absolute heart and soul of the B-52, giving it the raw power it needs for that incredible range and payload. And to be specific, what we're looking at are 8 Pratt & Whitney TF33 turbofan engines. Each one kicks out 17,000 pounds of thrust. But, beyond just the raw power, their design is all about durability and reliability. And those are 2 things you absolutely cannot compromise on for a long-range strategic bomber. Now, here's something really cool. Starting these engines isn't always some slow, methodical process. Normally, they take a long time to warm up. But what happens when a B-52 needs to get airborne, like right now? Well, that's where the super dramatic cart start comes in. The cart start is just pure mechanical brute force. It's amazing. Crews literally load cartridges, which are basically massive shotgun shells, into the engines. When they're detonated, they release this huge volume of pressurized gas that instantly spins the compressor, firing up the engine on the spot and creating those famous plumes of thick black smoke. And the result of this explosive process? An entire B-52 fully loaded can be taxiing and taking off in under 10 minutes. This whole system is about one thing: readiness. It's about ensuring the bomber can respond to a threat at a moment's notice. Okay, so the engines are roaring, but getting this behemoth into the air and back on the ground, well, that involves some really fascinating and kind of counterintuitive physics. So let's take a look at how this giant actually moves. Have you ever watched a B-52 take off? If you have, you might have wondered this exact same thing. Unlike most planes that really lift their nose up to get airborne, the Stratofortress just seems to, levitate off the runway. So what's going on there? It really all comes down to the aircraft's unique design. Unlike a typical plane that rotates, lifting its nose first, the B-52 is just so long and so heavy that it's engineered to lift off the runway almost completely level. The front and rear wheels leave the ground at pretty much the same time, and that's what gives it that signature flat takeoff. And believe me, getting it back down is just as tricky. The landing gear is set really close together on its narrow fuselage, which makes landing in a crosswind a serious challenge. Plus, even after it touches down, it needs at least 7,000 feet of runway to stop. That's why you'll often see it deploy a massive drag chute to help slow itself down. All right, let's step inside. The flight deck of a B-52 is a place where different eras just collide. It's this fascinating mix of Cold War analog systems and modern digital tech. It really is a time capsule. And this quote just captures that feeling perfectly. You are surrounded by rows and rows and rows of dials, switches, and gauges. It's a complete sensory overload that just speaks to the plane's long, storied history. And this contrast really gets to the core philosophy of the B-52's cockpit. I mean, sure, modern digital screens have been added for advanced navigation and targeting,
but a ton of the original analog gauges are still there. And they're not just for nostalgia. They are battle-tested, they are incredibly reliable, and they're less vulnerable to certain kinds of electronic warfare. They just work.
Now, this complex machine needs a big, coordinated team. Up on the flight deck, you've got the pilot and the co-pilot. But sitting behind them are the electronic warfare officer, who's managing threats, and the radar navigator, handling all the offensive systems. Oh, and below them, there's another navigator. It's like a symphony of human expertise.
So what does all this mean? It means the B-52 is a truly hands-on aircraft. There is no fancy fly-by-wire system here. The pilot's inputs are sent through actual physical cables and actuators to move those massive control surfaces. So many tasks that are automated today are completely manual on the B-52, which is exactly why it demands such a large and highly skilled crew.
So that brings us to our final section. After seeing the power, the physics, and the people behind it, let's kind of put it all together and understand why this 60-year-old design is still such a formidable and resilient asset.
Look, the B-52's longevity isn't because of any one single thing. It's this perfect storm, a combination of a fundamentally robust airframe, the incredible skill of its crews, that smart blend of reliable analog tech with modern upgrades, and of course, a constant, intensive maintenance program that keeps these old birds flying.
Ultimately, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The B-52 is so much more than a machine. Its enduring relevance comes from that unique synergy between its solid engineering and the generations of dedicated people who have operated, maintained, and adapted it for the modern world.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our current age of stealth bombers and autonomous drones, what is it about this 60-year-old design that makes it genuinely timeless? You know, maybe it's just proof that resilience, adaptability, and the human element are qualities that never really go out of style.